Hey everyone, it's Kimber Schaefer here for Rage in the Cage OKC News, and we're at the Weight Room. And Weight Room is one of our sponsors for Rage 54. It's coming up on October 6th at the Sugar Creek Casino. And this guy, Devin Weaver, is about to make his pro debut. We couldn't be more excited about this. Obviously, you tried to make your pro debut on Rage 53, but literally the day of the fight, your fighter backed out and drove home. So how did that make you feel, kind of standing in the cage without somebody? You know, I mean, you were really looking forward to that pro fight.
You know, any fight that you're in, you train and you train hard for. And it's not as much the training, you're always going to do that, but it's the weight cut that got me. And I was really disappointed I cut that much weight for a fight and I didn't have somebody that showed up. So other than that, I was disappointed because I had to cut the weight and suffered. And anybody that cuts a lot of weight for these fights understands what 22 pounds in 5 days feels like. And it's not the best for somebody not to show. So I was ready to fight, and I was looking forward to it, but hopefully I get an opportunity on this one.
Well, we're looking forward to that. We were looking forward to your pro debut, a couple months ago, and, you have really had such an amazing run so far. You're 5-0 as an amateur. You've kind of run through the competition in your weight class. So, I mean, it's definitely time to make that pro fight. Obviously, the competition is just that much more prepared to go into this. How do you feel in this pro debut right now?
I feel pretty confident. I'm training hard, and I hope Austin comes out and does a good job. I've watched some of the videos on him. He's got pretty good striking, so I think we're going to put on a pretty good show. I'm excited for it. It's like anything else. You don't train that hard and want somebody to go in there and just lay over and not put up a good fight. So I think he's going to get in there and do his best, and I'll do mine, and good luck to him.
We kind of talked about this. I mean, your favorite fights so far have been your tougher fights. Is that right?
Yeah. You want a super, super tough one, and then sometimes when you get them and you're facing the consequences of that 2.5 weeks later, you're still sore and you're not able to train. I like the tough fights, but going in there and getting hurt and being hurt for a long time is not the best either.
Let's talk about, you talked about some of the lows, obviously, is hurting 2 weeks later. But what do you feel as some of your high points? I mean, obviously getting a win 5 times in a row is a high point, but between the specific matches, do you think there were some high points there you can speak to?
The best fight I had was with Nelson Norman, the Blind Ninja, and he is a phenomenal fighter and should have been a pro a long time ago. And there was a point, in my career that I was getting these fights, and the guys were getting tougher and tougher and tougher, and eventually you don't want to go in there and take a beating like that without getting some money for it. So that was kind of my reason to go pro, just to give me an opportunity to make a little bit of money. And to the point now, when you're 5-0, you don't get guys that are just going to go in there and lay over. So if I have to take a beating, I at least want somebody to pay me to take a beating for it.
I hear that. So let's talk about long-term for you, because, you've had such a great run so far. So, I'm assuming, and you and I haven't talked about this, I mean, you have some long-term goals and some reasons that you are fighting MMA.
I enjoy the sport. So long-term goals, I look at it one fight at a time. I'm not going to look 10 fights in the future, and I'll see how my body holds up. I'm not the youngest fighter out here, and anybody that gets in their 30s, there's a lot of problems I'm having with my knees and ankles and joints that guys that are 20, 22 are not having anymore. So I got in the sport a little bit late. I'm just going to take it one fight at a time and see where I go from there.
I think that's great. It's a great strategy, because I think some people aim so high and they have such big goals in the beginning that it really breaks their spirit when they don't meet those goals.
Some guys do this for other reasons. I'm doing it strictly for the fun of it. And when it's not fun anymore, or I'm not capable of doing it, I'll just move on and do something else.
Very smart. Love that. You don't see that outlook as much, I don't think, in this sport.
Yeah, I think, I'm a little bit older getting into the sport, and there's a lot other things that I'm looking at, and I already have a career, and I do it for the fun of it and enjoy the sport. And when it's not fun for me anymore, you won't see me out here anymore.
Well, and let's talk about your background, your training, the MMA, what made you want to, continue on in the sport and get in the cage in the first place?
I always had an interest in the MMA and along them lines. And I had a buddy named Brad Failer that was a pro fighter, and I was cornering him, and he said, "Man, you really got to try this." And he put me on a card, and I trained 3 weeks and got in there, and that was my training for my first fight. Trained 3 weeks, got in there and fought, ended up winning, and I just kind of fell in love with it. Anybody that goes in there and wins and has their hand raised, there is not a better feeling on earth than that right there. And it's addicting, and the people that go in there know it is. And there's a reason we get back in there and want to fight another guy just for that hand raise at the end.
Well, and Brad Failer is fighting on this card as well. He's the main event. So how's that going to feel, being able to fight on the same card as somebody who kind of got you started in the sport?
We fought on the same card before, but it's been a long time since we fought together, so I'm very excited to get back on a card with him.
Well, fantastic. I'm looking forward to this entire night of fights. I mean, right now, I just saw the card for the first time. We've got 4 pro fights, 3 titles on the line, 15 fights total, so it looks like it's going to be a fantastic night of fights. Obviously, you've got tickets to sell. Where can somebody reach you if they want a ticket?
They can call me or hit me up on Facebook. Most of the people I sell tickets to are pretty local guys to me that they know how to get in contact with me. You can also get on Stubwire and just type my name in, I believe, if you're buying them on there, and that would be fine too.
All right. Sounds fantastic. Any last words, any shout-out sponsors you want to highlight right now?
I don't have any sponsors, but I am training at USA Stars and R1, and both of them places are fantastic places to train. Some of the toughest guys I've ever been around train at them, so give a shout out to them guys. Thanks for helping me.